when I get men in front of me, they try to kill me. They try to wipe me off the face of the earth. And the men behind them shouting to them, kill him, kill him, kill him. So, you know what I mean? There ain't no referee going to jump in, oh, he's got a cut over his eye. Excuse me, stop it. There's a cut over his eye. There's no stop it. Not if he ripped my heart out, they wouldn't stop it.
He was a fighting machine and he'd do things other fighting men would do. You know, and can't remember him losing a fight. But he was technically raving mad because he didn't know when to stop. And he's the only man I know what a fight 20 or 30 men was all tooled up. Iron bars, hammers, bottles.
I know you're referring to old Bartley Gorman. You know what? He was such a character. He was, you know, you get like one-offs, and he was like that. You know, he'd sit and the fire would be going, you know, and the next thing he'd say, right, quiet, I'm going to give you a song. And he'd just spring into action. You know, that was him. You know, such a extraordinary fella, you know, he's and a very nice man as well. Again, he was a family man. But, you know, he was a ferocious man in his day. He could fight badly. He boxed as well.
Imagine a world where fists rule and honor is measured in blood and grit. A world far removed from the glitz of modern boxing rings. This is the underground realm of bare-knuckle boxing, where legends are born and the rules are few. At the heart of this brutal, yet revered tradition stands Bartley Gorman, a man whose very name strikes fear and respect into those who knew him. Known as the King of the Gypsies, Gorman wasn't just a fighter. He was a symbol of pride, strength, and defiance within the Irish traveler community. In this video, we dive deep into the life of one of history's most formidable bare-knuckle champions, exploring how he became a living legend in the unforgiving world of underground boxing. Bartley Gorman's story begins in the heart of the Irish traveler community, where bare-knuckle fighting was more than just a sport. It was a way of life. Born in Giltbrook, Nottinghamshire, in 1944 to a Welsh father and an Irish mother, Gorman's heritage played a crucial role in shaping his destiny as part of a lineage of fighters. The Gorman family was steeped in the traditions of bare-knuckle boxing, with many of his ancestors and relatives having earned their reputations in the ring long before Bartley ever threw his first punch. His great-grandfather, Boxing Bartley, was Ireland's king of the tinkers in the 19th century, and his grandfather, Bulldog Bartley, was another unbeaten bare-knuckle fighter. This deep-rooted connection to the fighting world meant that Bartley was destined to follow in their footsteps from an early age. The red-haired gypsy boy Bartley was just 9 years old when he first encountered the harsh reality of violence. He witnessed the tragic death of his uncle, Jimmy Wilson, who was killed by a single punch from a drunk fairground operator angered over a spilled drink. Despite this traumatic experience, it wasn't enough to deter Bartley from the path of violence that fate had in store for him. Although Bartley's grandfather and great-grandfather were both champion gypsy boxers, his father Samuel was different. A law-abiding and deeply religious man, Samuel was not a fighter. He moved his family from Wales to Bedworth with the hope of providing his children with a proper education. They settled in Warner's Yard, a traveler's plot next to the Queen's Head pub on Newtown Road. Despite being unable to read themselves, Bartley's parents were determined that their sons would receive an education. So Bartley and his brother Sam were sent to St. Francis of Assisi, a red-brick, slate-roofed primary school in town. It was at St. Francis where Bartley learned two things that would shape his entire life: how to read and how to fight. Fighting came naturally to him, beginning with playground skirmishes, escalating to after-school brawls, and eventually leading to proper training at the Bedworth Labour Club. My father took me to the gym where I would fight the big boys there. They would hurt me and make me cry. But all the time I was crying, I was still fighting. He also participated in a series of schoolboy amateur fights, including some for his secondary school, Nicholas Chamberlain. These early experiences in both the classroom and the ring laid the foundation for Bartley's future as a legendary, undefeated bare-knuckle boxer. In 1971, he made his mark on the bare-knuckle world by challenging the reigning champion, Uriah Big Just Burton, at Doncaster races. Gorman boldly walked into the Park Royal Hotel and declared his readiness to fight Burton or any other contender on the racecourse. This declaration drew a massive crowd, eager to witness what would have been a rare public showdown among top bare-knuckle fighters. However, Burton did not appear, effectively surrendering his title to Gorman without a fight. A year later, he solidified his status by defeating his rival, Jack Fletcher, in a fight held within a quarry, officially crowning him as the Gypsy champion of Britain. He was 28 years old, 6'1", weighed 15.5 stone, had fists of granite, and was as game as a bull mastiff on trend. His fighting style was a unique blend of brute strength, endurance, and cunning strategy. Known for his ability to absorb punishment, Gorman would often let his opponents tire themselves out before delivering a knockout blow. His use of feints and psychological tactics in the ring allowed him to outthink his opponents, often winning matches before the first punch was thrown. He was also known for his incredible gas tank, which enabled him to outlast opponents in grueling, marathon-like fights. His powerful right hand was particularly feared, often ending fights in a single, devastating punch. His success in the ring was not just due to his physical abilities, but also his deep understanding of the mental aspect of fighting, which gave him an edge over even the most skilled opponents. One of the most remarkable aspects of Bartley's career is his nearly 2-decade-long undefeated streak. Between 1972 and 1992, Gorman reigned supreme as the undisputed champion in the world of illegal gypsy boxing. Over these 2 decades, he fought in some of the most unusual and dangerous locations imaginable, including down a mine shaft, in a quarry, at horse fairs, on campsites, in bars and clubs, and of course on the streets. His reputation was so formidable that he even challenged infamous London brawlers like Lenny McLean and Roy Shaw, both notorious figures in the underground fighting scene. However, these fights never came to fruition. His toughest fights were with legends in their own right, such as Mark the Ripper Ripley, who fought Bartley to a draw when he was just a teenager, and another guy only known as the Staffordshire Wolfman, whom him and Gorman bit chunks from one another's face during their fight. On September 11, 1976, thousands gathered at Town Moor for the 200th running of the world's oldest classic horse race, the St. Leger Stakes. That year's event was especially memorable, not just for Crow's victory under jockey Yves Saint-Martin during the sweltering heatwave, but also for a brutal and nearly fatal attack on the bare-knuckle fighter, Bartley Gorman. Gorman arrived in Doncaster expecting a showdown with a challenger known as Ricky Top Hat Donahue. But instead of a fair fight, he was ambushed by an armed mob that had reportedly been paid £25,000 to eliminate him. In his autobiography, Gorman recounted the terrifying ordeal. "I showed up at 10:30 a.m., the agreed time, but Donahue was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, 25 men armed with crowbars and bricks appeared. They beat me senseless. I tried to reach my car, but a dozen of them were clinging to me. They smashed iron bars over my head. I was in the car, and my left leg was trapped in the door as I tried to close it. They smashed a bottle, and then started to saw my leg with it. I pleaded with them not to, but they just smiled. Some of them held me while one cut and went through the flesh to the bone. I really believe they were trying to kill me." Despite the vicious attack, Gorman survived, spending 4 months in hospital but living to tell the tale, further cementing his reputation as a fighter who could not be easily defeated, even when facing overwhelming odds. It took him more than a year to regain his fitness, and he bore scars for the rest of his life. Coming from a long lineage of fighting men, Gorman also shares a significant familial connection with the Fury family, particularly with John Fury, the father of heavyweight boxer Tyson Fury. Bartley Gorman and John Fury were distant cousins, and this familial bond ties the legendary bare-knuckle boxing legacy of Gorman to the modern boxing reign of the Fury family. The fighting spirit runs deep in their shared heritage, with both Gorman and the Furies carrying forward a tradition of toughness and honor in the ring, with Fury also labeling himself a Gypsy King. One notable story that exemplifies Bartley Gorman's fierce reputation, showing that he was not someone to fuck with, involves an incident at a boxing match in Leicester, where he went to support his cousin, Gypsy John Fury. The event took place in the 1990s, a time when Gorman was already well known as the king of the bare-knucklers. However, despite his reputation, the security at the venue refused to let him in. Bart, not one to be easily deterred, single-handedly took on 6 bouncers who attempted to stop him. The first 2, described as big, beefy men well over 6 feet tall, were swiftly knocked unconscious by Gorman. The scene quickly escalated as he continued to overpower the rest of the security, making it clear why he was so feared in the bare-knuckle boxing world. In his autobiography, King of the Gypsies, Bartley Gorman recounted some of his most challenging and intense fights. One of the closest calls in his career came in 1980 during a confrontation at a Coventry pub, believed to be the old Porto Call. While enjoying a pint, Bartley was suddenly challenged by a man-mountain known as Mexicana Webb, a towering figure with wild, wiry hair that resembled a busted sofa. The crowd quickly cleared space for the impromptu fight, and the landlord was warned not to call the police. The two of them proceeded to beat the piss out of each other for 10 straight minutes. Despite dislocating his shoulder and severely hampering himself early in the fight, Bartley managed to secure victory. Webb, unaware of Bartley's injury, failed to capitalize on the situation, allowing Bartley to outlast the busted-up Webb and emerge victorious. His fighting spirit saw him through many other contests, including bouts at the Aston Furze Traveller site in Hinckley, a fight during his brother Sam's wake in 1991, and another at the Coventry Croc Fair 3 years later. In a bizarre twist, one of his last fights even took place on a ship in the North Atlantic. By 1997, with age bringing wisdom if not weakness, Bartley decided it was time to retire from fighting. He famously declared, "I'm too intelligent to fight," marking the end of an era for one of the most legendary bare-knuckle boxers in history. He became a vocal advocate for the gypsy community, using his influence to champion various causes. Among his many initiatives was the establishment of a rehabilitation camp aimed at helping travelers reconnect with their roots and traditions. In a gesture that highlighted his sense of humor and his commitment to his culture, Bartley once extended dinner invitations to then Prime Minister Tony Blair and the Prince of Wales for a unique meal, a hedgehog barbecue. But the plans were scrapped after animal rights activists vehemently opposed the idea. Peter Walsh, who worked closely with Bartley during the last 18 months of his life to compile his autobiography, reflected on the man behind the legend. He was a unique man, truly one of a kind. Bartley had a wicked sense of humor, but also carried a deep, unshakable melancholy with him. Bartley Gorman's toughest battle was his last. He passed away at Nightingale Macmillan Hospice in Derby after a courageous fight against cancer, a struggle he described as walking through a black desert. Throughout his illness, Bartley was treated at Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Edgbaston, where he received regular doses of morphine to manage the intense pain. Desperate for a cure, he even traveled to a private clinic in Frankfurt to undergo pioneering treatment. Reflecting on the experience, he said, "It was a hellish journey, but I felt it was my only hope. The clinic uses unorthodox treatments, including injections directly into the tumor. The pain was unimaginable. Anything I suffered in a fight was a picnic by comparison." His funeral was a testament to the respect and admiration he commanded within the traveler community. Hundreds attended the service at St. Mary's Roman Catholic Church in Uttoxeter, with loudspeakers relaying the Mass to those who couldn't fit inside the packed church. In a heartfelt eulogy, his cousin Malcolm Wilson captured the essence of Bartley's character. "We all knew he was a great fighter, but he was also funny, clever, argumentative, kind, loyal, and loving. My name is Bartley Gorman, and I am King of the Gypsies." What does that mean? Well, sometimes it describes a Romany political leader, or the head of an extended family, a spokesman, a figurehead. Occasionally, it is a fancy title adopted by a gypsy to impress the gorgeous or house dwellers. But for the fighting men of the traveling world, it has a different meaning. It is a title earned in blood, snot, sweat, and gore. For them, the King of the Gypsies is the best bare-knuckle fighter of his day. And if you are the best man among the travelers, then you are a very good man indeed. These words from Bartley Gorman himself encapsulate the essence of who he was, a man who earned his title through relentless perseverance and undeniable skill. He was not just a champion in the ring, but a symbol of the strength and pride of his people. His story is one of courage, loyalty, and the undying pursuit of respect and honor, leaving behind a legacy that will continue to inspire for generations to come. Rest in peace, the King of the Gypsies, Bartley Gorman.